Hi, welcome to Smith Grezzy. We've got a very, very special guest, a long-standing friend of mine and Sandy. We played in bands together. I think we did a short stint at Black Dyke. I certainly was at Brighouse with John. He's a wonderful double B player and a real inspiration to me. The one and only John Gillam. Welcome, John. It's great to have you on Smith Grezzy.
Thank you very much, Simon. Thank you very much, Sandy.
Yeah, no problem.
So, John, you've had a very varied career. The bit that's always interested me is that you are chairman of the National Youth Brass Band of Great Britain. And I think you've been chairman there for quite a long time, haven't you?
I have, yeah. I mean, my association with the youth band goes back, not in continuous terms, but my very first involvement with the youth band goes back to 50 years this year.
Wow.
When I attended my first course at Dauncey School in West Lavington, and the guest conductor was nobody other than Eric Ball.
Wonderful.
Right,
Oh,
so
how
John,
lucky with that.
just give us a few names that were on that course with you as students.
Oh, yeah, well, Linda Nicholson was principal cornet, Mark Mosley was on up, Alan Wickley on soprano, young Kevin Crockford on soprano, Hans Green in trombones, Lindsay Schilling.
Wow.
Had a big career in light music, was on bass trombone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tony Nash, who's been a good friend of ours.
A great double B player.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I don't think Robert was on my first course. He missed that course, I think. But yeah, I mean, some great players. Carol Crompton on baritone. Yeah, I mean, just some wonderful instrumental players.
How long had you been playing then? Before you joined the youth band, was
Not
it
that long, I started
pretty quick?
Yeah, I started at Wellington Middle School in Bradford, and the music teacher there was a lady called Elizabeth Lum.
Oh, I know that name.
Elizabeth Peat, actually, at that time, but her maiden name was Lum. And she was a teacher at Highfield School many years ago, so she knew people like John Clough, Colin Harding, and Colin was at Kitchens at that time, and she managed to get a budget off Bradford Corporation Education Department to get some instruments for the school.
Brilliant.
And anybody that showed interest was invited into the hall to have a go. And funnily enough, that week on Look North, Black Dyke had been on. I think Frank Berry played tenor, trombone, rag, and it was the first time I'd heard a band. And I thought, that's good, and I'll go. Anyway, there was a number of instruments available, and when she eventually, sort of like a couple of days later, called out the roll call for those who were successful, I wasn't on it. I was gutted, and it was Arthur Atkinson, Tom Atkinson's son, young Arthur, did the auditions or the trials, as it were. But she said, then there's two other people. We've got some other instruments that've got to be refurbed, and then they come. And one of them, I was one of the names, John Gillam, and I got a euphonium. But I didn't stay at euphonium for very long. I went on to E flat bass. Then I got a single B flat bass.
Right.
Okay.
I quite quickly. We used to go down to Bradford Schools band that used to meet in Carlton Grammar School basement, the old building at the top of Manor Row. And old Tom Atkinson would conduct, and Arthur would be there, and some good players in that. But it was just great fun, and it really lit my candle up and desire to progress. I quickly got into the Yorkshire Schools band, and Dennis Carr was the MD then. Peter Kitson was the tutor, Brian Lingley. There was no bass tutor as such, but it was great. We used to meet in Leeds Music Centre on a Saturday morning every month. And for some of them, the highlight was going into the Chinese in the Marine Centre, but it was great to sit down and play. It was the first time I called proper music rather than just rooty-tooty stuff.
Yeah. Right.
And I was also in old Arthur Atkinson's Bradford Youth Band, which we used to meet on a Wednesday night and a Sunday morning. So that was the bit. And then that summer, Mrs. Peat was keen that I have an audition for the youth band, because she was one of the founding fathers of the youth band in Dr. Wright's team. There was Ralph Nellis from Shipley was involved, Elizabeth Peat, but she was in that initial cohort who did that first course at Thornton Grammar School. Anyway, I went down to Keele University in summer '74, had my audition, and passed, and got invited to the following Easter course, which is Eric Ball. And it's one of the things I'll never forget. I mean, you know, it's like Simon in the youth band.
Yeah.
You all get together as a band and strike up with the national anthem, and Eric Ball stood there. It was great.
Yeah.
And we put great music. I mean, we did his Rhapsody on American Gospel songs, which was, you know, at that time groundbreaking. Top D's in for euphoniums in the Amazing Grace solo. It was down on suite, and we were only supposed to be playing the elegy, but he loved it so much, and he said, "No, let's do the whole thing." We did the whole of Down on Suite with Eric Ball.
Brilliant. That must have been quite an experience, John, with the great Eric Ball. I mean, there's not many people experience that.
No, I've got my signed programme somewhere upstairs in my box that needs dusting off. But it was great. I stayed in the band. I think I did 8 or 9 courses, made some great friends, who are friends to this day. Yeah. And then when I left the youth band, I still stayed in touch. I'd go to the concerts when they were within reaching distance, and showed a lot of interest. Anyway, some years later, Roy, who was MD at the time, I think it was when Sandy resigned as tutor, and he asked me if I'd be interested in going to be the bass tutor, and I did. Yeah. I did quite a few courses as tutor, which I thoroughly enjoyed. Yeah. Some good players come through the ranks there. Really good players. I mean, some of them who were in the profession or have played in top-level banding. It was great fun, because he knew the crack. Yeah. But, ironically, my first course as a tutor, it was back at the school in West Lavington, where I had my very first course. And then I think it was on the Tuesday or the Wednesday morning, Roy Newsom knocking on my door saying, "Are you getting up today? I've missed the assembly and was nearly late for sectionals."
John, when you started off, and as a youngster, you were in all these like local authority type bands. Were you in a sort of a local band as well? No. A contesting band? No.
No. My first contesting band, it was quite a surprise, actually. Nobody more surprised than the conductor when he found out on the morning of the British Open. A friend of my dad's was involved with Hammonds at that time. I knew Jeff Whittam. Yeah. And she asked Jeff if he would have a listen to me. And I went down to the band there on Dockfield Road in the old band room under the back of the transport garage. And Jeff had a listen and he invited me to join the band. So I joined Hammonds in I think it was May 1975. So it was literally, I think, a week or so after my 15th birthday. Wow. So my very first contest ever, Sandy, not just of any, my first contest ever was the British Open at 75 playing fireworks.
Wow. See, that's brilliant. I've got a very similar sort of story. When Robbie Cargill, horn player, he's moved to New Zealand now, and Robbie came down. I was a tutor in the Scottish Youth Band, and I was at Fairies at the time. Fairies were looking for a horn player. He was coming down to the Northern, and I says to Robbie on the course during the summer, I says, "Look, I can get you an audition at Fairies. That's no problem." I says, "After that, it's up to you." I says, "But when you come down from Scotland to get your digs and all that stuff," he says, "bring your registration card. See, we needed somebody for the Albert Hall." He says, "What's that?" I says, "Your registration card, when you do contests." He says, "Oh, I've never played in a contest." He says, and he was the same. His little village band on the Isle of Arran, that was it. It was just, they just played, and there was no contest. So the very first contest he ever did was the Albert Hall top section. So it's a very similar story.
I profiled some of from the youth band, and obviously Yorkshire School Band was playing on the steps at the Wool Exchange in Bradford on a Saturday shop. And when it gets about 3:30, 4 o'clock, dodging seagulls, not seagulls, starlings.
Yeah.
So, no,
that's great. A very similar thing. Yeah.
It was great. So, I mean, it was, funnily enough, I'd been in 1974 to watch the Open. Arthur Atkinson took a bunch of us on the train. So I was there when it was James Cook Circumnavigator. So
that was my first one for a listen as well. Yeah.
So I went there, and that was great. So it went, and then we played at Albert Hall and then Vida Matalon. It went on from there, and I had a great time in Hammonds. I left school in 1976, the year after, and I was off school after my exams, which we won't talk about. That was about 6 weeks before I went with Hammonds on 29th of July. We went to Australia in the 1976 tour.
Yeah.
And great players were
They did have some good players, didn't they, John?
Les Snail, euphonium player, I've forgotten his name. I told Glyn Parry.
Glyn Parry.
Yeah.
Wonderful euphonium player. Of course, you have Melvin on solo horn.
Yeah. Was Steve Fielding there on? He stop player.
He was indeed, yeah.
Yeah.
The band, and whilst they never sort of like got close to cracking any pots, they were quite often in the sort of like second half of the top 10 kind of thing. It was a good band.
Yeah.
And Jeff was great. I mean, loads of stories about Jeff. I could do 2 hours with you just on Jeff.
Oh, I know.
But it was great. But when we played, after we played at London in 76, sorry, not 76, in 70, 6 with Hammonds on Wayfarer Sinfonietta.
Yep.
And I won't say what happened, but you know the beginning of the end where it starts off. There's the 3 trombones and A B flat bass.
Yeah.
The B flat bass player had a problem with the instrument, so he said, "You better play." So I played that without any practice, and we got through. But when we got back to the band room the following week, Jeff said, "Not right happy with you." Why is that? He said, "Well, I think you could try hard." And I just started music college at Huddersfield. And the lads that were there from Brighouse, Martin McHale and John Easley, we've got a vacancy because Peter Richards, who funnily enough was the guy that left Hammonds when I went there. Peter Richards didn't stop him. "Would you come and have a blow?" "Oh, no, really, loyal to Hammonds. We just had a great tour. Great bunch of lads." No. Well, on that Monday morning after Jeff had his word in my shell, like, I tell you what, I've never been as early into college trying to catch the Brighouse lads saying, "Can I come and have a blow?" And my first concert was in Roundtree Macintosh Canteen at Halifax for a Christmas concert. So I actually had a blow with them late November and then got in and started beginning of December and played the Christmas season, then stayed with Brighouse for 13 years.
Yeah.
Plus, you'll have been sat next to the great Les Beavers then, John.
Well, it was Les that had left, so Les came back not that long after.
Yeah.
So the bass section when I joined Brighouse was myself on B flat with Dave Badham at side of me.
Yeah.
Roy, this is going to know me now. A lad called Roy, lovely fella on second flat, and Sandy Blair on principal E flat.
Yeah.
It was a good and we had a great time at Brighouse. I mean, it was a band full of characters, in the Tony Whittaker, Brian, Stephen Law, Howes. I mean, it was, and of course, then the year after that, we had all the palaver to do with the floral dance and all the things that meant. And, we caused a bit of a sensation that year because we were so busy doing all the showbiz stuff. And the committee, I think quite rightly, agreed we'd capitalise on what we could because it was a subscription band. There was no sponsors.
Yeah.
But we took every commercial opportunity to make money. Right, I mean, don't get me wrong, it wasn't huge, but it was enough. And we didn't go to the areas.
Yeah.
Really poo-pooed and some, not very nice comments. So we didn't go to London, but we went to the Open. And in the summer, it was announced that the test piece at the Open that year in '78 was going to be Benvenuto Cellini.
That's right.
And Best Man had been chasing to get on Flugel for long enough at John, and they appointed him as Flugel. Then it came out it was Benvenuto, and it went white. But on the day, he played absolutely fabulous. And it was a great performance, and that was my first ever major win on Benvenuto.
I was going to say, you actually won, didn't you?
With Jeffrey Brand. Yeah. And the band made a very conscious decision. As soon as that was announced, they went for Jeffrey Brand. But he'd already agreed to take Ever Ready. So we had to get Ever Ready for permission to take a second band, which they fortunately agreed with.
Yeah.
So he took two bands out there. And then,
but John Berlioz and Jeffrey Brand, they went together well, didn't they?
Well, the one thing about Jeffrey, apart from being obviously an incredible musician, I don't know if you listen to any of his recordings, of anything actually, not just Berlioz, but anything, his tempos were always right on the block. You never heard him rush stuff or drag stuff out. It always seemed perfect.
Yeah.
And he told his wonderful stories, But we played a good band that day, and it was very close. But what made that so special, one of the things I missed out was when I was a boy, before I got into Hammonds, and then for a while after I went to Hammonds, I used to get the bus from Fagley, where I lived, into town, then get the 76 from the back of the town hall, Simon.
Yeah.
76 via Queensbury, 77.
Up to Queensbury.
And I used to go and sit behind the basses in the band, the old band, the proper old band room.
Yeah. Upstairs.
And it was just 4 chairs in the windows.
Yeah, that's right.
I think, it was obviously Jacko and Peter McNabb, and I think Colin Aspinall was still there because EB. I'm not sure. Was he still there? I can't remember. And then eventually, not long after that, George Morgan came, and of course Alan Aldridge was on the flat. Yeah. And it was great. But the thing that made that Open Day special, apart from obviously winning, and it was a popular win. The crowd had said, it was a popular win. But in that old area at the back of King's Hall, with the little cubicles with the curtains that were totally inadequate, and the first people to come through, because Black Dyke were up for another hat trick that day. Yeah. But the people who came through and said, "Well done, lads," and came up and a couple of them sought me out because they knew me as a lad going in the band room. Frank Berry, John Clough, Colin Hardy, and the old school who was really pleased and congratulated. Proper
attitude.
Don't get me wrong.
Gentleman.
And then, so obviously, we Brighouse went on to win Carnival in 1980 with Derek conducting. Derek did a fabulous job with that. And we came bumper up to Dyke on
Blitz, wasn't it?
The year after.
Yeah.
So we had a great time at Brighouse, a great band. And
that were close, that, John. I were in the audience that day. It was the first time I'd ever been to Albert. And that were a close run thing between Brighouse and Dyke that day.
Yeah.
I felt so, anyway.
Was that Blitz, Simon?
Yeah.
I played with Whitburn that day. In fact, cricket's all tying up because Jeff took Whitburn that day, and we got third. And it was like winning the World Cup for us. I was only a youngster, and Dyke Brighouse us, and it was like, woof, unbelievable.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah.
It was packed. I remember that hall was packed to the rafters.
Well, it's in the days when all the upper orchestra and all that stuff behind the was all sold out. I mean, my mum and dad had seats in that lower orchestra bit there. They were sat behind percussion. They were just mesmerised by all the percussion parts that went on in that. They're a great piece. Yeah. Ironically, years later, I think you were in the band at Dyke when they recorded Blitz at St George Hall. I was one of 4 B-flat bass players that played that weekend, so I'm on quite a bit of that Blitz recording.
Yeah.
For some reason,
that was the first recording I did.
And there was
I can't remember.
And a number of other things on there as well, but yeah.
I'd only just joined the band then in November 81, and then we did that February 82, and I played half of that. I'm on first horn, and half of it I'm on solo horn, because Waddy was leaving, and so we were all sort of juggling around that day. But yeah, that was my first recording with them.
So how many years did you do at Brighouse, John?
13. I did have a little break because I decided we were, but I mean, I was associated with the band for 13, a little bit more than 13 years, but 13 years playing.
Yeah, it's a good stint.
And I did get a bit stalled for a number of reasons, which are not really pertinent now. But I got a bit. But I mean, my heart's still at Brighouse. I mean, I was part of that. I was working on the committee with Stephen Howes and the others, and Chris Yarfitt. And, it was a good band. But it was.
Go on. Just going back to the floral dance thing, because I remember I was still obviously a kid in Scotland, and that came out, and it was like surreal. There was a brass band on top of the pops, for God's sake, right? How was all that? How do you think that sort of? I mean, it's a big thing, isn't it, for Brighouse? Floral dance. Grimy have got the brassed off thing.
Yeah.
Brighouse have got that. Overall, positive, or has it had a few negative things?
No. I mean, you can always look for negatives if you want, but no, very positive. I mean, it gave the band a bit of a financial uplift. Mm-hmm. But those great experiences that those that were involved at that time, we'll never experience again.
Yeah.
And that whole floral dance thing, I mean, it was a bit of an accident because the company that they made the record with, because they wanted to have something to sell at concerts, and sometimes the older generation, buying an LP was expensive, and so they decided to make a single.
Okay.
So there was that one, and then I think that there's 2 versions. There's one with "Girl with a Flaxen Hair" on the B side, and then there's another one with something else I can't remember.
Is that thing that Sandy Blair wrote? I think. Am I wrong, or was that the Lincolnshire Poacher? He wrote a tuba tune, didn't he? What the hell is it called?
I don't think that was on the back of the single, but it was on the. I think it was definitely.
Wasn't it? Right. Okay.
But anyway, when the record company that acquired, I might get this wrong, but I don't think it was Grosvenor Records acquired Transatlantic or vice versa. But they were very much like a punk rock new wave label. And their big hit before that had been Paul Young singing about toast. And I have an old man's Earth Band track called "The Girl with the Flaxen Hair," and he saw this on the playlist. So it very accidentally got picked and kept, pressed, and then circulated through the artists and repertoire guys. And BBC Radio 2 picked up on it, and Terry Wogan, and that's how it came about. So it was a real fluke.
Wow.
You mentioned about, was the floral dance thing a drag or was it a benefit? I think one of the benefits that Brighouse had at that time, very strong committee. David Marshall, who obviously was the owner of Marshall's of Halifax.
Concrete place.
Very astute businessman, knew what he was doing, assisted us in where that money got spent or invested and all that kind of stuff. But you people like Les Beavers, Chris Garfitt, old timers with the band, not going to get phased by a bit of momentary glory. Yep. Everything was planned for the longer term. With all that experience and everything else, I think the band was extremely well managed. And I understand from contact still at Brighouse, there's a good new young cohort in there now who are running the show. And it's good to see them still being independent and still up there.
They're doing a good job, John. I'm still in touch with quite a few. They're doing a great job.
Yeah.
Always with that eye on the past legacy.
Yes.
It's really important.
You can encapsulate that thought for the whole of the band movement. Yeah. Yes, legacy is important. We mustn't forget it, but we've just got to have eyes wide open and set ourselves up as best we can for the future.
It's funny, John, because we bumped into Derek a couple of weeks ago, didn't we?
Yeah.
And it was lovely to see him. He was just sat at Weatherby. He'd no idea that me and Sandy were there. And then all of a sudden, I saw this little wave, and it was Derek. And it was absolutely lovely to see him.
Yeah,
he's coming on to do a programme with us.
Great guy. And I think at the time, at his time, a very underrated musician. I mean, he did a great job.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of his concert repertoire and stuff. It's all good stuff. And clever guy, good arranger, good composer.
Yeah.
And an awful guy. But if you're ever out and about and you're mixing with the rich and famous, Simon, you'll never see Derek and Keith Richards in the same room. And I can't tell.
Oh dear.
A great guy, and part of Brighouse's sort of like history.
Yeah.
So I remember, John, in the mid '80s. I was at Dyke by then, and you came and helped out. Can you remember? It was I think it was Jeffrey Brand as well conducting. We did a concert in August '86, I think.
Not the Trumpet Guild one.
Yeah, Trumpet Guild, International Trumpet Guild, and it was one of these.
It was the major, because it was we played Odin.
Was it the major? Right.
The major, we played Odin, and
we did play Odin.
Because major was conducting one thing, one half of the band was somewhere else, and the other half was somewhere else. But we all rendezvoused. Fortunately, it's a safe place.
Yeah, I think we got away with it. Huh?
I heard you comment on a previous podcast. I think it was 2 jackets, not 3.
Was it? It was 2 jackets, yeah. Because I've told Simon this story before. Yeah, we had to cut one sort of 3/4 of the way across.
Of course, it was on the programme, wasn't it?
Because you were. I mean, Jacko was a big lad, but you were broader than him. We had to get 2 old uniforms and stitch them together. Yeah. But
I did quite a bit with it at that time, and I was asked a couple of times. I mean, one of the funniest ones was, we did a concert in Ilkley, and there's that when Dyke played 1812, they've got it written inside the B flat bass part. There's the euphonium part, so you play that. Right. And Jacko said, "Play that." So, just play it, and then I played it, and it was okay. And I turned around, and he had a big dance face. And Alan Oldsworth was there. He had like, was it Alan or was it Joe? Had like a rubber cartoon of a bogey on his finger, waving it at me as I was playing. And but yeah, I mean, I was asked a few times to go.
Yeah.
And I was big answer that, but I mean, eventually I did make the move. And people think I went to Dyke from Brighouse, and whilst it wasn't a short period of time, it wasn't.
I remember. You'd been out of playing for a bit, hadn't you?
I'd not played for a while, and then I got a phone call from Roger saying, "Look, I know you've only just left Brighouse and such, but would you be interested?" And I said, "Yeah, I'll come up and have a blow." And I suppose the rest is a little bit of history, because we played, and that you were in the band set, and we played.
Yeah.
A Paganini variation, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. I've got a recording of that somewhere.
Have you?
Yeah, it's very good, but it's not as good as Grimy that day. I'll be honest.
It wasn't a winner for sure.
No. But and it was David King's. Was it David King?
It was David King that conducted.
Yeah. And it was in his. Well, he wasn't there long, but very early in his tenure, I think.
I mean, I enjoyed it, and it was great, and it was, it fulfilled an ambition, because I used to go up to see Dyke as a kid, as I say, on 2 buses and everything else. But no, it was great fun. And then, because David left shortly after that, and then there was that bit of a coup, because we had all sorts of issues, didn't we, with the band? And David, and then sort of like Jim being brought in, which was quite a sensation at the time. And Jim had come in with a couple of "I want these players," which was agreed, and then obviously a number of others voted with their feet over a period of time, but eventually settled down, and we had a good run at Dyke. I think I was there about 9 years, or maybe slightly less. Yeah.
I mean, John, you'd come across Jim Watson previously, like I did when we were together at Brighouse.
Well, what doesn't get acknowledged is that Jim's first sortie into conducting bands was with Brighouse.
Yeah, on him.
Yeah,
I remember talking about, we needed a new pro, and we said, look, it worked for Philip. Worked for Granthorpe up in Elgrouth. Jim Watson, why don't we give him a go?
Yeah.
And he came up, and he was brilliant. He was down, and I mean, he did some great things with the band.
Yeah.
And but in the end, I can't remember whether he left and went to Desford Short after that, or whether he went to go to Desford. I can't remember. But we did some great shows with him, and I mean, Jim and I had a bit of a rocky relationship. I mean, we were best mates, then we were for a while, but he's probably, if I had to say one conductor I played under that got the best out of me, it was him.
Yeah.
Because he was very safe. But with Jim, if you look at him, he wasn't the most graceful conductor and being left-handed. But it was in his eyes. So if you had anything to play, and of course over the years, these bass parts have become increasingly more demanding. You just had to, there's no way you're going to get it wrong.
No.
Right. So it was great. And then, of course, some of the stuff he did at Dyke, I mean, some of that concert stuff and, as well as obviously the contesting stuff, it was great. And, it ran its course. And
me and Sandy are firmly of the opinion that Jim's legacy at Dyke needs reassessing at times. He almost seems like he's forgotten. And he did some wonderful stuff. He really did.
Yeah, some ground and all that stuff he did with Ted Watts and all that transcription of that.
Yes, exactly. I mean,
even that Hollywood CD with all the musicals on.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Broadway brass one, yeah.
And he did all the planets, didn't he?
If you look at the Dyke's concert programmes from the 90s, that it's all proper music. It's very much like the Gary Howard stuff. There were big pieces on all the time, and the big classic pieces,
We did some great recordings, but one of the things that's a bit of an upset, there were some superb performances of great classical as well as newer pieces, but the recording quality was okay, but there's some terrible edits. I mean, one of my favourite old pieces is The Frogs, and there's a recording from where if you need to listen to it in 2 hours, there's a shocking edit glitch halfway through where it almost changes tempo, and it's an obvious
really.
But I mean, there's some lovely playing on that, and of course, as Simon will attest, it's a great bass part.
Yeah.
One thing I noticed that, and I picked a CD up 3 or 4 years ago in a charity shop, Slavonic Brass. It was all old manuscript Western Nickel stuff and Arthur O. Pierce and Chaik 4 finales and all these sort of things, Hungarian Rhapsody and all that. And he wasn't afraid to delve back into the astonishing library and dig all these old pieces out. It's a great CD, that. And again, you say, it's not the best sounding recording, but it shows that the excitement and he knew that repertoire inside out.
One of the greatest things we did with Jim and was when we did Planets.
Yeah.
For a couple of years there was like a festival around midweek at Symphony Hall, and we went down. We played the whole of the Planets. I mean, the whole of the Planets with a symphonic size percussion section. The CBSO chorus were up in the Whispering Gallery. Yeah. And the band played outstanding that day. And it was one of those special moments. And like when we did the LSO brass concerts down at the Barbican, a couple of times after the national finals, they were great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great legacy he left up there. He won a lot of contests, didn't he?
He did, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, was it 95 he did the Grand Slam?
Yeah.
He did everything. Yeah.
I'm 95, yeah.
It takes some doing, does that? I've never done it.
91, 92 was his first one with Cloud Catchers. That's when the band was still pretty raw, coming back together.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
No, I just think I don't know if he's deliberately being sidelined, but it's almost like people have forgotten all about that period. And I suppose the times he had with Desford before that, but certainly the Dyke years.
I don't think it's been sidelined by Black Dyke. I think they're proud of it, and it was a good part of their history. I think it's just, I don't know. I really don't know. It's a bit of a conundrum.
Yeah, but they're certainly worth, the recordings that are left, they're certainly worth exploring, especially like things, those Walton things that Ted Watson did. Brilliant arrangements. Really good, and good quality repertoire. Really good stuff.
I've heard things that they've tried to do, for instance, the Planets again, but I mean, Stephen Roberts did a great arrangement, but what we recorded and what we ended up playing was, I would say, 60% Stephen Roberts. Jim would just say, no, don't do this. And there's that many things, and some people didn't write it down on the part. So, I mean, that version that you finish with it's stupendous. The musicianship all around the stand is that. That's
yeah. That was wonderful. So when did you actually finish with Black Dyke, John?
Oh,
you did quite a while, didn't you?
I think it was just under 9 years. By then, I was more involved with the youth band. I became chairman in, I think it was 2000 and I want to say something like 2001.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hammonds was the chairman, and we had a meeting, and it must be about that, because I remember we had the meeting when I was asked to be chairman and take over after Dick had resigned, and we had the meeting down in Cambridge, and me and my wife to be we set off and went down. While we were in Cambridge, we went to King's College, Cambridge, to listen to a Cora Leaving song. Then we went to go off, and we got engaged when we were away. So we've been married 24 years.
God, that's wonderful.
But I was chairman for about 12 years. But it was a different role then. It was more of I'm executive chairman now, but I don't have to get involved hands-on as such. So Philip Biggs was the administrator.
Yeah.
But it was, when we were coppering up for music, we go to meetings with Philip at Youth Music to get the grants. And it was very much hands-on. And after about 11 or 12 years, it just felt right that they needed somebody else. So I stepped down and Bob took over. And then Bob was chairman through like the COVID years. And he did a great job having these virtual courses and these small. And then after Philip's passing, we realised that we needed to make some changes, because if you just keep doing what you're always doing, we're going to get the same result. And we were hand to mouth, and it was difficult. So I was asked if I would come and take the chair again, which is not always a good idea, but I said I'll do it through this period of change and to try and restructure the band. Mm-hmm. Which is what I think now I can say very proudly that the band's probably never been in a better place. Obviously we had the children's band in the first stint, but then I put the pen together for plans for a complete restructure. We've got a CEO in Mark Bromley who's done a phenomenal job, but we now have a professional management team.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, we're not swilling the money, every penny's hard fought for. But we've got people who are committed and are doing a great job. I think we always tried to get away in the past with people who knew the band, had been in the band, not so much do it for nothing, but willing volunteers, and we didn't have the right skill sets. So the first thing I did was I said, right, we need to do like a skills matrix and see where are we short of skills. And we weren't short of skills on the artistic side. So Bob went back into the role of Director of Artistic Planning, and I took over as chairman again. And then, as I say, we've got all this new structure in place, and it's worked like a dream. And we've got a fabulous fundraiser in a terribly tight, economic circumstances. And the band's really, really slick, organised, operationally managed by Richard Milton on the courses. Mark runs the team. They meet every week, virtually. We recently did a recruitment drive to get some fresh blood in for trustees, and we've got some fabulous new people come on board as trustees. And it's really in a good shape. It's probably the best it's ever been in. We're secure to a point, but we're not. We've not got money to burn or anything like that. But we're a proper bursary scheme, so nobody will ever not attend a youth band course because of finance.
From the outside looking in, John, it really does look to have taken a big step forward. I mean, Philip Biggs, bless him, he did a wonderful job, but it seems to have gone on again. And
it's a different plane, and I'm not saying that in any way, shape, or form as any kind of criticism of Philip, but Philip had Philip Biggs Brass Festivals, and it wasn't his sole activity, but Philip did a phenomenal job, a fantastic job. Took us to another level after he took over from Bill England. Yeah. But now, the two organisations are not comparable. Bob's done a wonderful job as the Director of Artistic Planning. We got some, we had some commissions. We've done some great work. I mean, getting a commission off Carl Jenkins was unbelievable. And he's become a bit of a band fan. Got some new high-profile interest in blood. And obviously, we lost our president, Elgar Howard, so we've in the not too distant future, we'll be making an announcement about a new president, which I'm delighted with, and some other, bonds will be announced where we've got people who want to be patron or supportive of the band. So the profile continues to rise. the stand of the band is very good. But you know, these things tend to go in waves. You get a strong band stays together, and then you get a large list of departees at the same time, and people go in waves. And I think that's the skill of the director of artistic planning, is to recognise at what stage the band is at when you're programming.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you've had the band into places like the proms.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, stuff like that. That's not.
And but I mean, we've done other stuff. We did the Higgins piece with the Concerto Grosso.
Concerto. Yeah, you have space yet.
And we've got a good relationship with the National Youth Orchestra, and I think just whilst we've always been highly regarded within the band world, with some respect from our peer national youth organisations, those bonds are quite close now. Good. And there's a lot of great respect, and we're in frequent contact, share best practice, and we're very proud of our association with National Youth Orchestra. And of course, some of our trustees are also involved with National Youth Orchestra, such as you and Easton. So yeah, it's good. It's good.
Good. It's a real credit. I mean, I've been to a couple of concerts. I think the last one was it was a couple of years ago. But I'm always wishing they were a bit nearer than I could get to them. But it's a real credit to everybody involved.
To try and move it around as much as we can around the regions. Yeah. And it's paid off. I mean, I've seen that concerts this summer. We've got a concert with Martin Brammins at the Royal College, sold out.
Yeah.
You've rarely seen stuff sold out in advance.
Yeah.
We've got a new guy looking after audience development, and we're getting concert goers now, not just mums, dads, aunties, and uncles.
That's the secret, isn't it?
It was all mums, dads, aunties, and uncles when I were there. Definitely. Yeah, what's nice, John, is the fact that the band are commissioning, not necessarily from within the banding movement, but composers from outside the banding movement. And that can only enhance the learning experience of everybody, because you're getting real composers. Carl Jenkins, I mean...
You don't get much better than that in the current state of play, does it?
No.
And very enthusiastic, remains enthusiastic,
Yeah.
Of course, he has his followers who probably think, what's a brass band?
Yeah.
But they'll listen to the piece, and it was great, and it went
because
down.
Because he says,
He got involved, he did his research, and he got involved, and he met some kids, and he met, it was all about wildlife and sustainability, and it went really, really well.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got to say, Roy did a lot of commissions as well in his time.
He did.
It was an odd one. Is it Edelyn?
Edelyn Walling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She did at least one piece, which never really should have seen the light of day more. But there were some things that we did as well, even going back to my time. A couple of things that were done special, which is a shame that they've got lost. But just like back to your point, Sandy, about repertoire. I mean, if I had a pet peeve about programming with some band concerts now, it's all new music or transcriptions, a lot of it, and I think we need to be mindful of the legacy. Keep the quality aspect of our history. I mean, Eric Ball is our Brahms, isn't he? And I'm not saying just go around playing Eric Ball pieces, but Gilbert Vinter. I'm not saying I'm not rose-coloured spectacles living in the past, but when Pageantry was the test piece a few years ago for the areas,
it
just showed that there was a massive style gap. And people
there is. But I mean, a lot of this repertoire, John, as you know, I mean, you don't even necessarily have to be playing it out anywhere. You can just use it in rehearsals. As a teaching tool. Yeah. But I think also, but we have lost this thing of. I mean, I think, John, probably when all three of us were going through our younger banding careers, there was a lot of places where we played what we would call non-test piece repertoire, just pieces, pieces by well-known, really good composers that weren't written as test pieces. And that opportunity is not there now. It doesn't seem to be as much. And you're probably thinking, John, about some pieces that the youth band commissioned that they didn't fit the bill as a 12, 14, 16-minute test piece. They were something very good, but slightly odd.
I'm sure John will remember this piece by Richard Stein. It's Tableau of the Heraldic Animals. I played that on a course, and it was wonderful.
1976 first performance at Higgett Festival. Wow. And I got back on the Wednesday from Australia with Hammonds.
Yeah,
it was a he was a composer tutor at Huddersfield.
He was.
He was.
He was there when I was there as a student. Arthur Jacobs was in charge of the thing, but and Arthur Butterworth, yeah. But Richard Steinitz was one of the composition tutors there.
Such a descriptive piece, that. It was just wonderful.
It doesn't fit the bill as a sort of test piece, but these pieces deserve to be. This is where we've lost out, and a person, John, we mentioned before, Jeffrey Brand. He was forever taking these things to music festivals, and the sort of Bram Gay concerts used to happen in Bristol and all that. So those pieces got an airing in those sort of places, but we've sort of lost a lot of that now. I know we've got the Royal Northern, which is brilliant, in January, but there's very few other opportunities, and I think that I would like to see bands trying to sort of break back into that sort of area where they're playing stuff that's not necessarily test pieces, but major pieces, big composers.
Yeah, and another pet peeve, Sandy, is as well, when you get bands picking own choice test pieces, or you get contest organisers outside of the main event ones picking test pieces for sections, you just think, never in memory of man are they going to get.
No, I know. There's a few really famous ones. Yeah.
Resurgam, third section. I mean, Resurgam's sorting out now. I mean, I know that is probably a rose-coloured spectacle comment, but it's that's not the technicality. And if you think about other Eric Ball pieces, I mean, how many times do you hear bands play Journey to Freedom and rip it off at such a speed that you never going to know?
No.
I mean, there was an old adage about Harry Mortimer. He was thinking, because he would take that in 4. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Listen to that recording of Dyke from '67 with Brandy. That is definitive interpretation. As a lot of those recordings in that era was, his Gilbert Vinter pieces that he did.
Yeah. The one I always remember, John, was I can't remember exactly when it was. It's about 25 years ago. 3 Figures, Herbert Howells.
Oh,
yeah. Second section, final space.
Never in a million years.
Not on which universe that was in, but but then you get what happens then is you get people saying, we played that in the second section. Well, no, you didn't.
Yeah.
And it gets, and I know people are afraid of labeling things. They don't want to demote pieces or play them down a little bit. And saying, we can't lose the status. I mean, what do you do with Variations on a Ninth, John?
Yeah, I mean,
it's still a tough piece,
and it's actually not a bad concert piece.
Yeah, it is. It's listenable. It ticks all those boxes. Yeah.
When Jim over at Black Dyke, first concert was at Morley Town Hall. I've never seen Morley Town Hall so full, and he started off with Variations on a 9.
Yeah.
Wow.
And he thought, let's show him.
Yeah, I think I played that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Brilliant piece.
It's this thing. People think that good music's got an expiration date, don't they? It's bonkers. You don't see orchestras behaving like that.
Quality. It should be quality driven, not age driven.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I was thinking about this the other day. There's some of the stuff we played at Yorkshire Schools Band, for example, that were real eye openers to me. Part Eater. What a lovely piece of music, Edward Gregson.
Yeah.
Well,
they're using that for the 4th section finals in September at Cheltenham. Yeah. There's a bit of a Gregson Arthur Bliss fest this year for the finals. But Gregson Partita, brilliant piece, just good quality. I mean, it's Eddie Gregson. That's all you need to say.
Yeah.
But those are the sort of pieces that. Yeah, I mean, we're so lucky to have these. I mean, then that was probably written when he was a very young man, But it still shows its quality now.
What was it? I mean, a lot of his pieces got their first performance through Jeffrey Brown when he was coming. Was it what was the?
Yeah, they did.
Students in London. Was it the City?
London Collegiate Brass. Yeah, I think. Yeah.
No. John, what are your feelings on the state of the movement at the minute?
It falls into a number of categories, Simon. I mean, we've got to be careful that we don't stop trying to attract youngsters in.
Yeah.
Youngsters want to play certain types of things. They want to be entertained because there's lots of immediate things they can do with the instant gratification. I think, brass instruments still remain one of the most accessible and easy to get to a decent standard quite quickly.
Yeah.
I think COVID, it didn't just mess up bands. I think it just messed up society. When you look at, cricket clubs. I mean, look at Bradford League, Simon.
Yeah.
They're the best leagues in the country. But now it's the same in banding. People become individuals. They don't necessarily like to be seen. I'm a member of X. No, I'm me. And people have got their own personal brands and their own personal agenda. Yeah. And we've got to find a way of making people feel wanted, making them feel the opportunities there, keeping them engaged, and not boring ourselves to where the audience just dwindles and dwindles. Yeah. So it is evolving. I mean, you did a great thing with that, tubular belt.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I know I came in as a sort of like first relief when people were me, but some of the things I did, I mean, I've really thoroughly enjoyed that. And that wasn't brilliant park either.
No,
it wasn't. It was pretty nasty.
That was hard. I mean, crikey, you look at the sort of band we needed to do that.
Yeah.
You'd have two soprano cornets for a start. You have the likes of Kevin Crawford and Martin Brett or Rob Westacott, and others, but you needed two. And it's a slog. I mean, that bass part at the end of part one, all that for about 8 minutes.
Yeah.
Non-stop. I mean, the stamina that's involved in that. Yeah, it's knackered.
That was great. And it was
but it worked in that again.
Festival,
Yeah.
So
exactly. None of them were banders. Nobody was bothered about brass bands. There's a guy I work with.
There's a guy I work with. He was at Warman with his daughter, and they're big into music, but not brass bands. And when he found out he was having, oh wow, I heard you play that live. It was absolutely fantastic. It wowed the crowd, and it did. I mean, that mix of the band with the synths and all the other stuff we had. I mean, it was just brilliant.
Yeah, it was different, and those are the sort of things. I think collaborations are a big part of the way forward. Whether that's with we've always done it with choirs and stuff, but you can do it with all sorts of other artists.
Yeah,
and keep the thing alive and evolving.
Yeah. But I mean, the wider answer to your question, Sam, I think we just got to be very careful that we keep sight of having fresh oxygen, fresh supply, fresh blood, fresh interest, without losing the legacy. I mean, we've been talking recently about who's going to replace Bob, because Bob retires in 2027. About that vision, and we wanted somebody with vision, futuristic vision, as well as obviously a strong presence of the band's, the youth band's legacy. But we can't live in the past, and I don't think we're doing that at the minute. I think one of the big successes, we're eyes wide open, and it's and that fresh blood coming into the trustees. Not all of it from a brass band.
No, which is good.
We did advertising some wider publications to get people of interest wanted to come in and do something as a trustee.
Did you say Ewan Easton's involved?
Ewan's been a trustee for a long time, yeah.
Well, that's an absolute bonus.
And he there's a number of people. I mean, I talked about me having an association with the band for 50 years. It's not continuous. Bob's probably the longest now. Bob's been involved with the band a couple of years longer than me. Bob's done a fantastic job. Yeah. Steve, until recently, Steve had a touch of ill health and decided he wanted to pass the baton. So we got somebody new holding the financial reins. But Steve Plant was in it for a long, long time. There's Lorraine, Bob's wife. She's always been there on the house stuff. And with the safeguarding, the daughter, Lisa, doing safeguarding until recently. And we've got some very committed, knowledgeable people, Gary and Monica Velcher, who were involved at Wardle. But mixing it all up, we're trying to make sure that we're, that when I or Mark Bromley pass on the baton quite soon, that we're passing it on to safe hands.
Yeah, absolutely, John.
I think you're right, John, about what you're saying about getting people who aren't necessarily from a brass band background involved. Is a really good idea, and that's one of the things I've seen happening a little bit. We used to get it a lot in the past with adjudicators coming from outside brass bands for the big contest. And then there's one obviously for the Royal Albert Hall this year, Ian Bousfield, which, Ian is a bander, I suppose, going right back. But, I mean, he's had a phenomenal career in orchestras, you know.
He was in the youth band when I joined. I miss Ian out.
Right.
Yeah.
I remember when he was at Imps in the late 70s and that. But, I mean, he's been, right, well, amongst these numerous achievements, he's principal trombone of the Vienna Phil, for God's sake, you know. And we need to get people who have maybe done a bit of that and then have branched out into bigger and better things back into to let us know what they think of the standards. You know,
I think that judging panel this year has quite excited me. It's the first time in a long time that we've had people that, yes, they're involved in a little bit of banding in the periphery, but they're not actually involved, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
They're on the outskirts of it. And then to bring somebody like Ian in, we're chuffed to bits.
I think it's a master. Yeah, I mean...
Real stories. When Ian moved, when he got the NFL job, he had quite a wine collection, and I moved his wine collection out in one of my trucks to Vienna for him. And one of my prized possessions is I've got a Vienna Phil tie.
Did you?
Handkerchief. But I think, Ian, when we did the first concert with LSO Brass with Dyke, he was at the Barbican on a Sunday evening after the Albert Hall, and each band had its own swagger spot. You know, we split the first half up, and we did Benvenuto Cellini. Then we came together in the sort of like the finale in the second half was Pictures. But we did the sound check at the tea time, as you do, and Ian got up and he walked to the back and of the hall, and he came back down. He said to Chris, he said to him, "What did it sound like?" And Ian said, "I've got to tell you, I was concerned there'd be a clash of styles and it might grate." He said, "But it sounds unbelievable."
Oh, wow.
Unbelievable. And then talking about professional Yorkshiremen, we were sat in our usual band formation, and on risers at the back of the B-flat basses was their trumpet section. So there was Morris, Rod Franks, Mark Smith, Anne McEnany, Jim. When we played through Queensby, you could hear Rod and Morris. When we did the run through for Pictures, there's that bit pretty near the beginning. It goes, and let's just say the tuba players were not very clean. And Eric kept saying, "It needs to be better, guys, it needs to be better." And Rod just said, "Concert's in an hour and 3/4. Pass it forward, give it to these lads." and I can't remember whether Dave Nesbitt played it in the end, but it whatever happened on the day, it was good.
Yeah.
Great times, then.
There we go.
So, John, thank you for joining us on Smith and Grezzy. It's been an absolute delight hearing your thoughts and about your career, and like I always thought, you've always got something pertinent to say and intelligent along the way. So many thanks, John. Really enjoyed having you along. It's been a real pleasure for us both. So to our listeners, please join us again. We'll have some more podcasts coming up shortly. Until then, it's good night from us three.